What if I told you that you could read all these books and your life will still be the same? Everyone says, read book and you'll be successful. I've said it too, but the truth is just reading isn't enough. And not all readers are leaders. Now think of reading like searching for treasure in a field. If you don't know how to find the treasure, all your effort is as useless as pouring water into a basket. Now, here is what nobody has told you about reading and why most people don't get the best out of the books they've read. Most people read books, take notes, and feel inspired. Yet nothing seems to change because reading alone don't transform you. What you do with what you've read does. If you don't apply the right approach towards reading, you will just end up gathering information, gathering words, and not wisdom. So, how do you ensure that every book you read actually changes your life? I've broken this down into three powerful strategies that will help you get the best out of every book. The first principle is having a clear purpose for reading. Most people just pick a book randomly, hoping they will learn something useful. But here is the thing, reading without a clear purpose is like taking a road trip without a destination. You keep moving and moving, but where exactly are you headed? If you want books to completely change your life, don't just read for the sake of reading. Have a clear purpose for reading. Look at your life, and check areas that you want to improve on, and pick books that will help you grow in such area. It may be your finances, your communication, productivity, or relationship. Successful readers don't just read, they search. They pick books that help them grow in specific areas. Before you pick the next book to read, ask yourself this question: why am I reading this book? If you don't have a clear purpose for reading, you end up skimming through it, forgetting most of what you've read, and then you move on to the next book without a real change. Why reading with purpose is powerful is because it is fueled by desire. When you have a strong desire to improve a certain area of your life, that desire pushes you to look for materials that will help you improve such an area of your life. And when you attach purpose to your reading, you are not just reading to finish the book, you are not reading to, increase the number of books you have read, you are searching for life-changing ideas. So reading with purpose is very important because it makes you a scavenger, unlike when you just read for the purpose of reading, which makes you a spectator. Now you can have a purpose attached to your reading and yet still face the problem of forgetting most of the things you have read. This is where the second strategy comes in. The second strategy is apply what you read. For me, the easiest thing to do is to sit down, pick up a book, and read. Take notes, feel inspired, and assume I'm making progress. But here is the thing, after a long while, you realize that you are still in the same level. This is because reading without taking action is like buying gym equipment and never using it. You may get the best of this equipment and yet you will see no results. For me, I believe this is the biggest reason why we read books after book and yet our lives still stay the same. Successful readers don't just consume information, they act on this information. Now, okay, you have a purpose in your mind for reading a particular book. After picking the book to read, you've learned some principles and strategies that have worked in the life of these people. Without applying them, how can you really get improvement from your reading? If you read a book and the book teaches you about a mindset shift, for instance, you start practicing immediately. You read a book and it teaches you a new skill, you start implementing immediately. For me, I believe every step you take will reinforce what you have learned and help the knowledge to stick. When we continue to read more books after books without applying them, all the knowledge we've gained from those books are all useless, are all useless. So you pick a book, for instance. Let's say this book, let's take for instance this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. One of the powerful principles I learned from this book is pay yourself first, meaning a part of what you earn is yours to keep. After reading this book and learning this principle, for instance, and then I end up earning money and spending all the money, I'm not applying the principle I've learned from this book. And because I've not applied it, I may have the head knowledge of the principle, but it is not going to transform my life. It is just mere words, it is just mere knowledge. It's not going to work anything for me. So this is very, very important. Applying what you've read is important. And I believe it is when you apply what you have learned that you actually learn. Because the way we learn is by doing. All right. So before we go to the third strategy, I want to let you know that you can still have a purpose for reading and start applying the knowledge, and yet forget some of the most valuable lessons you learned from a book. And this is where the third strategy comes in. The third strategy is take notes and reflect. Let's say you've started reading with purpose and applying what you've read. That is a great one. But there's a problem. If you don't take notes and revisit what you've learned, you will likely forget it. Now, have you ever read a book and you learn so much lesson from the book, you are so excited, and after a month you struggle to remember even a lesson you learned from the book? That is because our brain is wired to forget. Study shows that within 24 hours we are likely to forget up to 70% of what we have read. So how do we make sure that everything we learned, the valuable insights and ideas we learned from a book, how do we ensure that we don't forget them? It is very simple. By taking notes and reflecting upon what you have written down. And I have 3 methods that is going to help you do that, which I call HSM. The H is to highlight on key ideas while you read. There are some ideas that resonate with you. Those ideas, make sure you highlight them. Say, for instance, now I'm reading this book and then I came upon something that actually staggered me. What I do is that I pick my pen, for instance, and I highlight it, highlighting key ideas. And the S is to summarize what you've learned in your own language. When you do that, you force your brain to process and remember that idea. You are not writing it in the words of the author, but you are writing it in your own words. So I learned something here. Okay, I'll just close the book. What's this thing that I learned now from here? How do I understand it? You see, you summarize those lessons you've learned in your own words. And then the last one, which is M, is to make it personal. So the lessons I've learned, how can I apply it into my life? How can I apply it into my life? Very important. So these 3 methods will help you to ensure that you don't forget most of the things you read. So reading without taking notes is just like when you go for a seminar and you learn a lot of things from the seminar, and then you feel inspired, you are happy. But if you don't take notes, you just walk out of the seminar. After a while, that inspiration is going to fade. It's going to fade. So writing notes is very important. And this is what successful readers do. They don't just take notes and then cover the book, go and keep the notes. No, they revisit and review what they have written down. I believe these 3 strategies is going to change the way you read completely. The first is reading with purpose, and then applying what you read, taking notes and reflecting on what you've read. These 3 strategies will completely change the way you read. Now, if you want to improve or your habit of reading, you want to create a reading habit, I have a video here for you. Just click on the video on your screen, and then among these 3 strategies, I want you to tell me in the comment section which of these strategies have you been missing out in your reading. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.